What's up, Car Squad fam, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Derek and I do car reviews. Today we'll be checking out this 2017 Lexus RX 350. Now this generation ran from 2016 to 2022 and did have a facelift in 2020. This generation, in my opinion, was targeted at a younger audience with its more aggressive styling. Today we'll take a look at the exterior and interior of the vehicle, then I'll put you in the seat for a point of view drive, and then finally I'll wrap it up by giving you my thoughts on the vehicle. And I am located here in the Northern California Bay Area, so if you've got a vehicle up this way that I can review, please shoot me an email at the address listed here. Thanks. So starting off up front here in the engine bay, you will see the 3.5 liter V6 engine that this vehicle is powered by. Now these were available in front wheel drive. This, however, is an all-wheel drive vehicle. It puts out 295 horsepower with 267 pound-feet of torque. It's got an 8-speed automatic transmission, and gas mileage is rated at 19 in the city and 26 on the highway. So moving to the trunk of the vehicle, first off, you'll see that I can't stand straight up under here or else I will hit my head. Now that is because this is an adjustable height, and the owner of this has it set to this height because if it goes any higher, it'll smash the top of the garage when it opens in their garage. Now as far as space back here goes, you've got plenty of space, a lot of room to carry luggage and whatever baggage around, and you of course have the sliding cargo cover to hide any items you might want to keep hidden back here. You do have a hook on both the left and right sides that drops down and you can hang something. It does say it's rated for 4 kilograms or less. On the right side here, you'll find your left and right seat drops for storing larger items, and then a first aid kit. On the left side, however, you just have a speaker. Up above on the left side as well, you will find a little power port as well. Here on the floor of the trunk, you also have a cargo net that you can slide open and reveal that and slide it on up and connect it as needed. And down below the floor here, you of course have the famous Lexus RX hidden compartment. So if you have more valuables that you want to hide, you could hide them there. Under here you'll also find your spare tire, and a little further back you'll find your jack and tools. One other thing back here is if you just had a 2x4 or some longer pieces of wood or whatever it is, you can just release this button here on the back of the center seat and drop that down, and then you have a nice little pass through here to store longer items. So moving to the back seat of the Lexus RX, the first thing I want to point out is that this vehicle is about 6 inches longer than the 2004 RX from the second generation that I had reviewed, and it's about 5 inches longer than the third generation, which ran from 2010 to 2015. And that almost half a foot of extra length is definitely noticeable back here. You get some nice leg room. For reference, I'm 6'1", the seat was set to my driving position, but it is backed up to allow easy access in and out of the vehicle for the driver. Even with the seat being back further than I would have it as a 6'1" driver, I still have great leg room. Headroom is excellent. Even the center seat here, I sat in the center seat, and the seat back in comparison to the 2004 RX is a lot comfier. It's not as hard with that center seat back. So you and 4 other adults could definitely be comfortable on a long road trip in this vehicle. As far as storage and features go back here, on the door of course you have a little pocket up high and then a larger pocket down below to store items. You do have air vents here for the rear passengers, which you can just open and control. You cannot control the temperature back here. And then you do have a power outlet to plug into, and another tiny pocket just below, maybe to throw a phone or some snacks in. Up above, the left and right seat passengers do get rear reading lights. If you fold the center armrest down, you can press this button and you will reveal 2 small cup holders, and just behind that you have another little pocket to store and hide some other items. Alright, so moving into the front seat of the Lexus RX, again, very comfortable seats just like the rear seat. And the nice thing is you can get a real comfortable driving position here. You've got tons of adjustments, sliding the seat forward, back, up, down, lumbar support, all of that. And then you do have a telescopic steering wheel here, so you can adjust it out to you, up and down, to really find your ideal comfortable driving position. Now starting with the door itself, you do have a small pocket up top, and then just below you have another pocket down here to store whatever other items. You of course have all your window controls, your lock, unlock, and then your left and right mirror controls, as well as the button to fold those mirrors in. And then up above by the door handle, you will find 3 seating set buttons. So to the left of the steering wheel here, you'll find your auto high beam button, as well as your trunk release and a heated steering wheel button. And then down below you do have a small pocket here, maybe to store some change in. Now on the steering wheel itself, you do have on the left side your volume, media controls, as well as voice command and the option to answer and decline a phone call if your phone is connected. Over on the right side of the steering wheel is where you have your controls for the screen in the center of the gauge cluster. In that screen you have the option to see a variety of info, including your gas mileage, how much range you have remaining, your tire pressure, and of course scrolling through to see navigation or media as well. Alright, so as far as other storage here, of course you have 2 cup holders, and then just behind where the armrest is, that does open up. You've got a decent sized bin here, and aside from storage in here, you also have a USB port, an auxiliary port, and then another power port to charge phones or whatever it might be that you need to charge. And then just in front of that, you do have this continuation of the armrest for the driver, just this small patch here, and you can flip that open and that reveals another small area for storage as well. Maybe store some pens, or if you have an access key to a garage, that would be a good spot for it. You do also have one other storage spot in this center area here, and that is right up front in front of the shifter, just below all your audio and temperature controls. It's just a small area here. You could maybe fit a phone or something like that in there, or because this vehicle is push to start, maybe that's a good spot to put the keys. In the center console, you will find you have your control button for normal, eco, and sport mode. You also have your controls for traction control, and you have the very complicated and not very accurate mouse pad which controls the infotainment system. Basically the way this works is this mouse, you move around, it'll control the cursor on the screen, and when you're ready to make a selection you just push down on that, or you do have buttons on both the left and right side for the passenger or driver to use to make a select. You do have your button for the map as well as the quick access back to the main menu. Of course, your shifter just in front of that, it is an 8-speed like I mentioned, and you do have the option to put it in a manual mode and shift your own gears. And then you do have in front of that your parking brake. You have the option to put this in auto park, so you don't have to engage the emergency parking brake every time that you park. It'll do it on its own. And you also have a nice option of brake hold, so if you're on a hill or just stopped in traffic at a long red light, you can put that hold on, take your foot off the brake, and the vehicle will stay in place until you apply pressure to the throttle. To the right of that, you have a very nice feature, not just heated seats, but cooled seats as well. It is a hot day today here in the Bay Area, and driving this vehicle around with those cooled seats comes in very handy. Up above, you do have all your temperature controls. Pretty simple use there. If you want it to be more complicated for whatever reason, you can go into the infotainment screen, use the overly complicated mouse, and make your temperature adjustments that way. But I think for most people, they probably just use the simple buttons here. And then above that, you do have your controls for the audio. The first time I drove this vehicle, I'll be honest, it was a little confusing trying to figure out just changing the radio station from the Bluetooth connection that it was on. I had to pull over, stop the vehicle, and try to figure my way out. But I think once you're settled into this vehicle and you kind of have everything set to what you want it to be, that intimidation of complexity with this whole GPS and infotainment system kind of goes away. Up above that, you do have a clock. Personally, I do not like these clocks when vehicles do this. I prefer just a digital readout. It's complicated when you're trying to drive, keep your eyes on the road, and you want to check what time it is, and you've got to figure out calculations determining what time it is based on where the hands are here. Of course, when you're not driving, it's a lot easier to do quickly, but I think for driver safety and efficiency, it would be much easier. Although there is one in the center gauge cluster, I think it would be easier just to have a normal digital readout there. So the nice thing with this screen is you do have the option to split the display. So you can choose what to have here on the left side. Maybe you want your audio here, or if you prefer your map being on this side, you can have that there. And then on the right side, say we want our music, we can see what radio station or what song is playing. So nice options there to kind of customize what view specifically you want. Up above, of course, you do have a sliding sunroof and moonroof. Your controls for the moonroof here on the left, your controls for the sunroof here on the right. Of course, your reading lights up above just by touch. I don't have to push a button. And then your folding sunglass storage. And the nice thing, these sun visors do flip down, out, and slide as well. That always comes in handy. Well, that wraps up the tour of the exterior and interior of the vehicle. Now I'll put you in the driver's seat to see what it's like driving it. All right, so driving the 2017 Lexus RX 350. Like I mentioned during the review, this generation of the RX, I feel, was targeted more at a younger audience. And one of the first things I noticed when driving this is it's still comfortable. It's a Lexus, of course. However, in comparison to that 2004 RX 330 I reviewed, that was a much smoother riding vehicle. It just absorbed bumps. You didn't really feel much. This, you do feel bumps a little more, and that is because that 2004 generation had air suspension. This has double wishbone suspension, and of course with that it gives you a little bit more of an aggressive driving experience, but it is still a Lexus. I don't want to make it seem like this is a rough riding BMW X3M sporty vehicle. As far as driving it, it's a Lexus. It's comfortable. You know, I could find myself being extremely comfy here on a long road trip. Just an easy, smooth drive. And of course, like I showed with the back seat space, this is definitely a realistic option for you and some adult passengers to take an extended road trip in. One other comparison I want to make with this to the 2004 RX is the quality of parts on the interior. So again, of course, like I said, it's a Lexus, very high quality, but that 2004 Lexus, while everything in here feels very good, the wood grain on the steering wheel, in that 2004, and anyone who has driven an older Lexus will understand, I've driven plenty of old Lexuses, but the build quality was just above and beyond, and it just felt a little bit more solid on the older Lexus vehicles I've reviewed and have had a chance to drive. But again, that is not to say that this is poorly built in any sense. Still high quality. It's just a little thing I've observed. Now, one thing I could do without is the complication of the infotainment system. Like I mentioned, you know, Lexuses from this era are known kind of as the most complicated infotainment system with the little mouse pad and scroller thing here. You try to move it one spot down and it shoots 3 or 4 spots down. You try to move it up one and it goes too far up. So I do wish it was a little more simple to use. And it's funny because I reviewed a 2017 Toyota Tacoma and the infotainment system in that was very easy to use. It was very simple. So it would have been nice if Lexus had just carried what was in their Toyota vehicles over to Lexus vehicles, and it would have made for an easy platform to use, but they didn't. And I'd imagine, just like with any vehicle, as you spend more time in it, if you're owning this vehicle, you will get used to it and it probably won't be too much of an issue. As far as power goes, it's plentiful for what you need on a daily basis. You can confidently overtake someone on the freeway, and like I said, handles pretty well with the double wishbone suspension going through turns. It's not a sports vehicle, of course, and I should point out that you do have the option to shift the vehicle manually. However, the upshifts and downshifts are quite delayed. But again, if you're buying this, you're not really buying it for the same reasons you would buy something like an AMG or M product. You're not buying this for the sports driving experience aspect. You're buying it for comfort and reliability, and when it comes to that, this vehicle does an excellent job. As far as resale value, you know, these hold their value extremely well, and they are still quite expensive if you're trying to get into one. To get a clean, fairly low mileage example, you know, you're still looking in the mid 30s from what I've seen, and I do live in California, so it may be different depending on where you are in the world. But I do think the generation before this is a really good buy, because you can get those again with fairly low mileage in the high teens to low 20s from what I've seen. But either way, you can't go wrong. Now, of course, you can get some other vehicles in this price range, and they may be a little sportier or larger, whatever it is you might be looking for. But again, if you're looking for something luxurious, comfortable, reliable, this is going to do the job, be very good at that. And not to mention, this is probably going to be up there towards the top of the list when it comes to the ease of maintenance 5, 10, 15 years down the road in comparison to some of those other vehicles. Well, that wraps up the review of this 2017 Lexus RX 350. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're not already, to make sure you're part of the Car Squad fam and not missing out on other videos like this. And also be sure to give us a follow on Instagram at Car Squad TV. I'll put the Instagram link right here. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.